Welcome to the deep dive. We take stacks of sources and, well, we pull out the key knowledge to help you get informed faster.
And today we're looking at a skill, um, a really practical one for just dealing with everyday life stuff.
Exactly, the messy parts, the confusing parts, and we've got a great source for this.
Yeah, let's dive right in with this wild hypothetical from the book. Imagine you snag this amazing last-minute deal to Vegas. $399.99. Looks incredible.
Sounds good so far. You book it, you're excited.
Right. Until you arrive at Hotel Ooh La La. It's overbooked. Big surprise. You wait ages.
Oh, no.
Finally get a room. Smells like paint fumes. Overlooks the dumpsters. And it's loud.
Lovely. And the promised luxury welcome package.
Oh, that turns out to be this really aggressive mandatory timeshare lecture. High pressure.
Ugh, the worst. It keeps getting better, doesn't it?
It does. Because then you decide, okay, maybe relax by the pool.
Mm-hmm.
And disaster. You slip.
At 4.
Not exactly. You slip on.
Yeah.
Wait for it. A live python printed swimsuit someone left there.
A live python print, like actually moving.
Okay, maybe the book meant a design that just looked really convincing.
Sure.
Point is, you slip, you fall, bam, broken ankle.
Ouch. Okay, that's a lot hitting you all at once. You're hurt, the hotel's a disaster zone, you're trapped thinking about timeshares maybe miles from home.
Yeah.
In that moment, it just feels totally overwhelming, right?
Your brain's probably just screaming, what do I even do?
Exactly. That feeling, that sense of being completely swamped, the adrenaline floods in, and often our brain just defaults. It goes automatic.
We react purely on emotion, like anger, panic.
Or we fall back on these mental shortcuts.
Right, like thinking, it was cheap, serves me right. That's kind of a price heuristic, isn't it?
Yep. Or just pure outrage. Sue them. Sue everyone. Which, that's the outrage heuristic kicking in.
These shortcuts heuristics, they're part of how we think and sometimes useful, but they can also lead us straight into biases.
Oh, definitely. Like confirmation bias, you start looking only for evidence that proves how badly you were wronged, or just letting that gut feeling of anger completely override any kind of logic. Okay, so this brings us to our main source for today's deep dive. It's the book, How to Think Like a Lawyer and Why. A Common Sense Guide to Everyday Dilemmas by Kim Wehle.
And our mission here is pretty straightforward. Pull out the core ideas from this book. The central argument is that the way lawyers learn to tackle problems, well, it's not just for legal battles. It's actually a really powerful, common sense way to handle almost any tricky situation life throws at you.
So why is this useful for you, the listener, even if law sounds completely alien? Well, because in this world of just constant information overload and demands on your attention, thinking deliberately the way this framework suggests, it's kind of a shortcut.
Shortcut through the noise.
Exactly. It helps you make better decisions, ones that are actually thought through instead of just, reacting on autopilot. It helps you move from that unconscious reaction to consciously choosing your path with more clarity, hopefully more confidence.
And the book lays out a specific way to do this, a framework. It's a 5-step process that lawyers often use called the BICAT method.
BICAT. Okay. Sounds a bit legalistic.
It does sound a bit formal, yeah. But the book makes a good point. It's like learning to ride a bike. Seems awkward at first, takes some practice, maybe you wobble a bit. But once you get the hang of it, it becomes really intuitive. And you can use it for all sorts of things, work, conflicts, family decisions, even just figuring out how you feel about something in the news.
All right, so that's what we're going to do. We'll walk through these BICAT steps one by one.
And we'll use some of the relatable examples and scenarios the book talks about to make it concrete.
Okay, let's start. Step 1 of BICAT.
Okay, step 1, break the problem down.
So taking that huge, messy situation like our Vegas disaster and chopping it up into smaller, more manageable pieces.
Exactly. And the book stresses something important here. When you're stressed or angry or even really excited, your body releases hormones. Adrenaline, cortisol.
Fight or flight stuff.
Yeah, and that stuff actually makes it harder to think clearly, analytically. So the very first step isn't necessarily doing anything drastic, it's pausing.
Taking a breath before firing off that furious email or yelling at someone.
Right. Take a breath, maybe walk away for 20 minutes. Let those hormones settle down a bit so your thinking brain can actually engage instead of just your reactive lizard brain.
Okay, so you pause, then you start dissecting.
Yeah.
The book uses a good example. Getting a job offer. Feels like one big decision, right? Yes or no?
Seems like it. But using this method, you break it down. You identify the big buckets first. Things like salary and benefits, or opportunities for progression.
Then under those buckets, you list the specifics.
Exactly. Sub-issues, like
Yeah.
what's the actual pay rate? Is there a bonus? What about health insurance specifics? How much vacation time? Can I work remotely? What are the day-to-day responsibilities? Who's the manager?
And breaking it down like that helps you compare things properly, doesn't it? If you have two offers, you're not just comparing titles, you're comparing the details side by side. Leave policies, reporting structures.
Just like a lawyer breaks down a complex case into individual claims or legal issues to see which parts are strong and which are weak, it's about understanding the components.
So back to our poor Vegas victim with the broken ankle. Step one is what? Listing the different disasters.
Pretty much. You've got the physical injury, medical costs, pain, maybe lost work time. You got the hotel problems, bad room, maybe breach of contract for the overbooking, potential negligence with that swimsuit.
Don't forget the timeshare pressure.
Right. Add that in misrepresentation, wasted time, the pressure tactics. Suddenly, it's not just one overwhelming problem. It's maybe 3 or 4 distinct issues.
And they probably need different solutions.
Exactly. Breaking it down helps you see that clearly. Makes the whole thing feel less like this giant, impossible wall.
Yeah, it turns it from ARG into, well, maybe a to-do list. Very unpleasant to-do list, but still.
Progress and creates a sense of control.
Sure.
Okay, so that's step 1. Break it down.
Got it. Step 2, identify your values and your aim.
Okay, this one's deeper. It's about figuring out what really matters to you in this situation.
Yeah.
What are your core beliefs, your priorities? These things guide our choices, sometimes without us even realizing it.
They're the why behind the what.
Precisely. Sometimes they're obvious, like maybe financial security is a huge value for you. Other times, they're more subtle, like maybe a deep need to belong influences how you feel about political groups or social scenes.
The book talks about this idea of reasonableness in law, right? Like, what would a reasonable person do?
Yeah, and that sounds objective, but it's actually pretty squishy.
Hmm.
Because what seems reasonable to me might seem totally unreasonable to you because we're filtering it through our own different values.
Like that police chase example in the book, the Supreme Court justices watched the same video.
Same video, but they saw it differently. Most thought the officer was reasonable to stop the fleeing car, even forcefully, because the driver was putting others at risk. Public safety value was high there.
But one justice disagreed.
Right. Saw it differently. Focused on moments where the driver seemed to slow down and felt that ramming the car, given the risk to the driver, was maybe unreasonable. A different weighing of values, risk to the individual versus risk to the public.
And the interesting thing was, it wasn't just a simple liberal versus conservative split among the justices.
Not at all. It showed how personal values about safety, risk, authority, they shape how we interpret the exact same facts.
And that applies everywhere, doesn't it? What's a reasonable amount to spend on something? How do you reasonably handle a fight with your partner? Your definition comes from your values. Maybe you value thrift or harmony or maybe standing your ground.
The book points out that family decisions are super value-laden. Law has rules, penalties. Family runs on relationships, emotions.
So like in a divorce, you break it down. Step 1, there's the stuff, the assets, and then there's arrangements for the kids.
And while dividing assets might have clearer rules, figuring out the best interests of the child, well, that's inherently subjective. What's best depends hugely on your values about stability, education, exposure to different things. Two perfectly reasonable parents can disagree based on their values.
Which raises the question, if values clash, how do you decide which ones take precedence?
Good question. The book suggests thinking about a value hierarchy, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Basic survival needs food, shelter, safety. They have to come first.
So in that divorce example, making sure everyone has a roof over their head and enough money to live on comes before arguing out who gets the fancy silverware.
Exactly. Identify your absolute core values in this situation and prioritize them. That helps you focus. And part of step 2 is also clarifying your aim. What outcome are you actually shooting for based on those values?
Not just winning in some abstract sense.
Right. The book uses this nice yin and yang analogy. Life needs a balance. Some order, some structure, but also some flexibility, some acceptance that things aren't perfect. Maybe your aim isn't total victory, but finding enough order to move forward without being constantly stressed or stuck in conflict.
Let's take that back to Vegas. Broken ankle, bad hotel. Step 2 values might be health, obviously. Fairness, not getting ripped off. Financial protection.
Could be. Or maybe just salvaging some part of your trip or getting home fast. Your aim then follows. Is it maximum possible payout no matter the hassle?
Or is it just covering the medical bills, getting a fair refund, and putting this whole mess behind you as quickly as possible?
Exactly. Step 2 forces you to define what winning actually looks like for you in this specific mess beyond just feeling angry.
Okay, that really reframes things. So step 1, break it down. Step 2, values and aim. What's step 3?
Step 3, collect lots of knowledge.
Gathering reliable information. Facts and rules.
And think about how much the world has changed here. Go back a few decades, information sources were pretty limited. A few newspapers, maybe 3 TV channels.
No, it's just a fire hose. Constant stream of information, opinions, everything all the time. Our brains haven't really caught up with how to filter it all effectively.
And there's a key difference the book highlights. In a court, you have judges acting as gatekeepers. They use strict rules of evidence to decide what information is allowed in, what's considered reliable.
But out here, in the real world, especially online...
No gatekeepers. Or rather, we have to be our own gatekeepers. Facts, opinions, deliberate misinformation, it's all jumbled together. Sorting trustworthy knowledge from noise is on us.
The book uses a simple car crash example. Loretta says her light was green. Maria says her light was green.
Classic he said, she said. What do you need?
Better knowledge. Objective stuff like traffic camera footage, city records on light timings, skid marks, something verifiable.
Exactly. You need reliable evidence, not just conflicting stories. The book also touches briefly on some legal ideas about information, like how lawyer strategy notes might be protected, work product, or lawyer-client conversations are confidential privilege.
We don't have those formal protections day to day, but the principle.
The principle applies. You need to gather all the relevant facts you can, good and bad. But your private analysis, your strategy for how to use those facts, that's part of your internal process.
How does this apply in, say, civic life? Like deciding which candidate to support or cause to volunteer for?
It means doing your homework. Collect reliable knowledge. Research the organization's track record. Check their funding sources. Read reports. Maybe talk to people already involved, like interviewing witnesses. Ask them the good, the bad, the ugly. Don't just rely on the brochure.
And for just consuming information generally, especially online?
You absolutely have to assess the quality. The book gives some useful pointers. Is the source generally seen as authoritative, like maybe a government agency website for stats?
Or is it a traditional news outlet with a history predating the internet? The book calls this the Back to the Future test, suggesting they might have more established fact-checking.
Right. If you've never heard of the source, maybe look into who runs it, what their angle might be. Don't just take an unsourced claim on social media at face value.
And definitely don't just stay in your bubble, right? Algorithms feed us what we already like or agree with.
Exactly. That makes step 3 so much harder if you're passive. The book mentions things like Section 230, the law that generally shields platforms from liability for user content, and how that shapes the online environment. It even contrasts it with older rules like the Fairness Doctrine, which used to require broadcasters to air opposing views.
Understanding that context helps you realize why you need to be proactive. Seek out diverse, credible sources. Actively distinguish fact from opinion.
It takes work these days. Being your own effective information gatekeeper is a real skill.
Okay, that's step 3. Gather and assess knowledge. Moving on to step 4.
Step 4. Argue both sides of each point.
Playing devil's advocate against yourself.
Basically, yes. It's a really powerful way to fight your own biases, especially confirmation bias, where you only look for things that support what you already believe.
A good lawyer doesn't just hype their own case.
No, a good lawyer looks at it realistically. They anticipate the other side's arguments. They figure out the weaknesses in their own case. Sometimes that means telling a client news they don't want to hear.
Like the stink eye example in the book. Someone gives you a dirty look, it feels awful, but
there's likely no legal case there. The law doesn't have a remedy for every single hurt feeling or slight. You have to be realistic about whether your position or your claim actually holds up under scrutiny. Trying to stretch the facts or ignore inconvenient points usually backfires.
The book had those examples about employees getting hurt on breaks, right? Like a truck driver killed while resting, or a park ranger in his vehicle off-duty.
Yeah, those illustrate the gray areas. Was the person still technically on the job, or was it purely personal time? Lawyers have to argue both sides, often by analogy. This case is similar to that case where the court decided. They explored the nuances.
So the key takeaway for us is, even if you're 99% sure you're right about something, You have to force yourself to list and seriously consider the strongest arguments against your own position.
Absolutely. Let's use the healthcare decision example from the book. Say, deciding about elective surgery, like cataract surgery.
Okay, step 1, you broke it down: risks, benefits, recovery time, cost. Step 2, identified values, maybe quality of life, independence. Step 3, collected knowledge, talk to doctors, read studies.
Right. Now, step 4 is making 2 distinct lists. Reasons for the surgery, clearer vision, better driving, improved quality of life, maybe preventing falls.
And reasons against: surgical risks, infection, complications, recovery might be tough, the cost, maybe the cataracts aren't that bad yet.
Exactly. And you don't just list them. You honestly try to weigh the strength of the evidence and the logic behind each point on both lists. You might really want the surgery that's a bias. Step 4 forces you to confront whether the arguments against it might actually be stronger based on the knowledge you gathered in step 3.
It sounds like this step might make decisions feel slower, maybe more difficult initially.
It can, yeah. It forces you to grapple with complexity.
But the final decision should be much more solid because you've basically tried to poke holes in it yourself.
Exactly. You've stress-tested your own thinking. Which leads us nicely into the final step, step 5.
Okay, step 5. Tolerate the fact that people will disagree with your choice and that you might feel conflicted.
This is crucial. In court, eventually, a judge or jury makes a call. End of story, for that stage anyway. In most life decisions, there's no judge.
No final verdict.
No. And even after you've gone through all this careful BICAT analysis, someone might disagree with your decision. Or, maybe even more commonly, you might still feel a bit uncertain or conflicted about it.
And the book warns against trying to force things into a neat black and white box when they're not.
Definitely. It uses a trademark case example, Patsy's pizza sauce case, where the client kept insisting on a story about his labels that just wasn't true. Trying to stick to a false narrative, even outside of court, just leads to problems and dissatisfaction. Refusing to see the gray areas, the complexities, it doesn't work.
Because life, like law mostly, is gray. It's full of trade-offs.
It really is. And the book makes a powerful point here. Sometimes winning isn't about getting absolutely everything you wanted initially. Sometimes true winning, based on your step 2 values, means accepting a compromise, or maybe even walking away from a fight altogether because the cost, financial, emotional time is just too high compared to the potential gain.
The author mentions her own divorce, defining winning not as maximizing every dollar, but prioritizing things like moving forward constructively and protecting relationships.
Yeah, it's about acknowledging those trade-offs and accepting that complex situations rarely have perfect, easy answers that satisfy everyone. It's about finding a resolution that you can live with based on your deliberate process.
The book also briefly touches on when you probably do need an actual lawyer, right?
Yeah, it flags things like serious criminal charges, obviously, complex business deals, setting up wills or trusts, often divorce situations too, because the rules can be intricate and the stakes high. But it also implies that for some less complex issues, if you do your step 3 homework thoroughly, a DIY approach might sometimes be okay.
Okay, let's circle back one last time. Our Vegas vacation disaster, the python swimsuit, the broken ankle, the terrible hotel.
That initial feeling of just chaos and sue the pants off them.
Right. How does BICAT change that knee-jerk reaction?
Well, let's walk through quickly. Step 1, break it down. We did the injury costs, hotel failures, timeshare issue, separate problems.
Step 2, values and aim. What matters most now? Getting healthy, getting money back, not letting them get away with it. Or maybe you're there for something specific, like seeing family, and your main aim is just to minimize disruption to that.
Yeah, if your top value is getting back to work or school ASAP, a long, drawn-out lawsuit suddenly looks less appealing. Right?
Okay. Step 3, collect knowledge. Get the doctor's report. Take photos of the room. Find the timeshare paperwork. Maybe do a quick online search about slip and fall cases in Nevada. What do you usually need to prove? Was the hotel genuinely negligent, legally speaking, or was it just bad luck?
Step 4, argue both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? List reasons you could sue and maybe get something. Then list the hotel's likely defenses. Maybe they'll say you weren't watching where you were going. Maybe proving the swimsuit was their fault is hard. Also argue the case for settling quickly versus fighting.
Which brings us to step 5, tolerate disagreement and conflict. The hotel's definitely going to disagree with your version. Your friends might say, go for broke.
But maybe you, having done the BICAT analysis considering your values, step 2, minimizing hassle, the knowledge, step 3, lawsuits are costly, uncertain, and the arguments against your case, step 4, decide the best path for you is to negotiate a settlement. Maybe get your medical bills covered and a partial refund.
even if it doesn't feel like 100% perfect justice.
Right. It's a considered decision, aligned with your priorities, not just a gut reaction fueled by anger.
So thinking like a lawyer,
Yeah.
using this BICAT method, it's not really about being argumentative or cold-hearted.
Not at all. The way the book presents it, it's a really practical, almost common sense skill. It's rooted in being deliberate, being thorough, acting with integrity.
It seems like it gives you tools to really analyze messy situations, weigh information properly, see different angles.
And ultimately make choices that are more likely to align with what you truly value, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed or involves compromise.
It's like having a mental roadmap for navigating those tough spots life throws our way.
I think that's a great way to put it, a roadmap.
This has been really illuminating. So as we finish up this deep dive, maybe a final thought for you, our listener. How might trying out these BICAT steps, even just mentally, change how you approach the next tricky decision that lands on your plate, whether it's big or small?
Yeah, that's definitely something worth mulling over.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.